something magical about his outlook. That's my view. I mean, I may be wrong. You don't have to agree with me. Everyone has to have their own view. That's what I think is the way to be a teacher to any people, whatever your people are, if there's hardship or not. That to me is how to move people properly. I mean, in a way that can help them, not make things worse. That's why I think Black Elk is pretty great. Now, it may not be Black Elk, it may be Nyhard, I don't know. Anyway, he's always hoping that the Spirit's going to come to us. I remembered how the Spirit had taken me to the center of the earth. And he was overcome. And when I went to dance, I went only to see and to learn, but now I was going to stay, and the dance was over for that day. But they would dance again the next day, and I would dance with them. He said, he's just going to dance. He's going to dance it up. And you know, in the last book we read, The Chosen, that's what all those groups do, those Jewish groups in Brooklyn. They dance. They're big. They dance to intoxication. And you know, in Islam, I can't write it on the board, the Sufis, S-U-F-I, S-U-F-I, with an S plural. The Sufis dance in mystic visions. You know, the Pope has gone to Turkey now. And there are places near Istanbul, out a little ways in Asia Minor, what's called Anatolia now, where they have this whirling dervishes. You ever heard of whirling dervish? Dervish is the Turkish word for Sufi. D-E-R-V-I-S-H. D-E-R-V-I-S-H. Dervish is the Turkish word for Sufi. And I don't know if you've ever seen them. Have you ever seen pictures of them? They sort of spin around like this. I'm no good at it. And they keep whirling and spinning and spinning and spinning for hours until they, dislocate the whole universe and they go into what you were saying, a trance. How many have seen pictures of these groups? It's crazy, isn't it, to see them? I mean, they just and they have this crazy music going, that like otherworldly music and poetry, and they just dance and dance and dance. These mystic groups all have this, I think, across the Islamic world. I think they're outlawing them. People like Bin Laden don't like these groups. They don't like Sufis, don't like mysticism. They're very legal Islam. They want legal Islam, laws, stopping people from dressing a certain way or cutting off people's hands if they're criminals, or stoning women if they're not behaving properly. They want all this legal stuff. That's more what we have in Saudi Arabia, the Wahhabis, which is more of a legally restrictive form of Islam. But this Sufi don't mix it up, it's a totally different, it's a mystic sort of otherworldly form of Islam. And dancing is very big. So I think all these groups, I think they got it from Central Asia, Siberia. I think the American Indians came out of Central Asia down into the Pacific Northwest, down into the Rockies, South America, East, and so on. The dancing traditions of the medicine man, the great spirit world, came with them. I think the dancing traditions went into these Islamic areas and into the Jewish groups that came from those areas, who were called Hasidim. Hasid, H-A-S-S-I-D, H-A-S-S-I-D. And we'll look at them in the book, in the Chosen. We'll see a Rebbe, R-E-B-B-E. I'm not on the board. I don't have a pen. R-E-B-B-E. Their teacher is called a Rebbe, and they'll have the same spiritual leader as a lot of these other groups who are involved in some of them. Anyway, let's go back to the dance. He's going to dance. So I dressed myself, the next chapter, 184, in a sacred manner. Lawrence will have this about the Etruscans. Before the dance began, the dance began the next morning. What's going to happen the next morning? All hell is going to break loose, isn't it? And I think even Black Elk is going to try to kill somebody, isn't he? He's going to go back to his youthful days. He's going to he's going to ride at some troops, I think, or something. I don't know. Did you get to that part where he rides with the soldiers? I think he falls off his horse or something and doesn't manage to kill anybody. or get himself too badly wounded either. But anyway, he does ride at the soldiers. And I went among the people who were standing around the withered tree. So he's part of it now. Good Thunder, one of the apostles, was a relative of my father, and he later married my mother. So I guess that his mother is young enough to have another husband. He offered up a great prayer for me. Behold, this boy, your ways he will see. And I thought of my father and my brother and my sister who had left us. And there were tears running out of my eyes, and I cried with my whole heart. See, again, okay, he's bitter, but there's something positive in his bitterness. He's not hating anybody as such. He's just trying to make it better. Say, oh, well, he's a weakling. That's not the way to do it. Well, I'm not sure. I just don't think healthier way to do it for everybody. He's not a coward. He's not running away. He's going to fight if he has to. He's not, giving in, is he? It's a very strange sort of balance he has. Very unique, I think. And while I cried, I thought of my people in despair. You see, he wants to help. And I thought of my vision. And how it was promised me that my people would have a place on this earth where they would be happy. And they could be brought back into the hoop again and to do the good. And to the good road. And with tears on my face, I asked the Great Spirit to give a life and leaves and singing birds, as in my vision. I knew the power was in me. And as I danced with Good Thunder, kicking bare holy arms between them, I had the queer feeling I knew, and I seemed to be lifted clear off the ground. And I thought about the other world, that the Wanakee himself was with my people there, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's pretty good. You can read that. That's the climax of the book here, or maybe it's the conclusion. Then we began crying, and most of the people wailed and cried as they danced, and holding hands, and laughed with happiness, and some would fall down like they were dead, and while they were lying there like dead, they were having visions. And we kept on dancing and singing, and many were crying for the old way of living and the old religion, and I began to feel very queer, and a queer feeling came over my legs, and I must have fallen down. And I was floating head first, there he goes, he's taking off again, through the air. I'm sorry to bore you with all this. My arms were stretched out. And the eagle feather was in front of me. And then he's flying again. So you can read all that. Anyway, the holy shirts, I guess the ancestors come.